Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, as you saw from the thumbnail, I'm saying, here is wisdom. But I am not quoting from the Bible. What I mean is, here is Humza Yousaf, who's been compared to Norman wisdom because his gaffes are so appalling and so often. And so people are just saying, yep, where Norman Wisdom was an actor pretending to play and go through his life and his roles as being an incompetent fool, Humza Yousaf has, of course, taken that to heart, and that is his very essence, his being, and who he is. It's what he identifies as, an incompetent fool. And so we will take a look at this to see why a lot of people now are thinking that Humza should really be called Norman. Let's take a look. Now, before we get into it, just want to put a little bit of housekeeping up there. YouTube is having a bit of a time today. I did do a short, but if you didn't see that, just to explain, YouTube's having a bit of a time of it today. There's a big lag on when you're uploading. And so I'll do the video, do the edit, blah, 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 then I upload it. And usually what happens is while I'm uploading it, I do the thumbnails and things like that, and we click them in. And then they're ready, and then I post them and I put them up on a scheduled release. But what's happening now is I press the upload button, it uploads it, but it doesn't appear in YouTube for maybe 40 minutes, an hour. And because of that, I can't edit, I can't do things to it, I can't do the things I need to do to it. So it's really infuriating, and it's absolutely slowing everything down today. So I may not get as many out today as I normally would, but I will at least just click as many as I can until the time comes when I've got to stop. So that's how it is. I'll throw some flash videos up later. That's probably the only way I'm going to get any kind of numbers today. So I do apologise. As I say, it is entirely down to YouTube. So help a guy out, bear with me, and just hit like on the videos anyway. It really would help. And if you're yet to subscribe, do so. Right, thank you for that. Let's move on and get this out. Hapless Humza Yousaf compared to Norman Wisdom due to his gaffes as he becomes a recruiting sergeant for the Unionists. Because every time Humza Yousaf gets up and does anything, says anything, goes anywhere, attempts to use a scooter down a corridor, he falls over, either literally or metaphorically. He's ridiculed, he's laughed at, he's proved wrong, and he is just one of life's little losers at every single thing he attempts. He's failed upwards. That's the only thing you can say for him. He's failed upwards every time. But at what cost? Anyway, former Scottish Tory MSP Brian Monteith hit out at the First Minister for his SNP campaign to make Scotland Tory-free. And yet, ironically, the Tories took a seat off the SNP the other day. How's that working out for you, Humza? But he also hinted that due to his mistakes and his reputation, the Unionist parties do not have to worry about him. Oh, God, no. The longer Humza Yousaf stays there, the better for the Unionist parties. Unfortunately, if you had someone actually half decent at their job, it may improve Scotland somewhat. So you're in a bit of a catch-22. Since you're going to have the SNP there for another couple of years or so, why not have someone in who knows what they're doing? On the other hand, the longer he's there, the worse it is for the SNP. So it is half, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, isn't it? Anyway, Humza Yousaf has been compared to the famed slapstick comedian Norman Wisdom, who, as a little tangent, was apparently an absolute hero in Albania. Albania was such a closed system, they didn't allow people to see the decadent West and all that. But apparently Norman Wisdom films were allowed, and he was very, very popular. Hey-ho. Anyway, he's been called Norman Wisdom due to his gaffes, as he was also labelled the recruiting sergeant for Unionist parties. The First Minister has become well known for a series of high-profile mistakes and U-turns since taking office last March. Has it only been a year? Because it seems so much longer, because in that year he's had so many things go wrong, and we've laughed at that and moaned about this and sort of stood astonished, open-mouthed astonishment at something else. The guy is absolute value for money, but not in a good way. Anyway, these recently include claiming that an XL bully ban was not needed in Scotland, just days before the government announced they would be outlawed and he U-turned. He also got the SNP's independent strategy wrong last week. His own independent strategy. He'd forgotten what it was. He said it was the most seats instead of the majority. And he backed Michael Matheson to stay on as Health Secretary for months before he resigned anyway. And we are yet to see the full report. Now, that is due out end of this week. He got the 10-day allowance. And so I think it's Friday. I think it's 10 working days. So I think it's Friday that report should be published, unless he can somehow cream another extension or whatever. And then we'll see the full horrible extent of what the man has done. But that's a different video on a different day. Well, Friday, I would presume. Anyway, he's basing his party's general election campaign on a Tory-free Scotland, but he's been called out for threatening democracy and freedom by eliminating these views from the country. Former Scottish Conservative MSP Brian Monteith criticised him in a column for The Scotsman. The politician said, "People can choose to vote Tory or not, so Yousaf's partisan jibe is not as heinous as an exclusion, were it towards those whose racial, religious or sexual nature came with birth. But it's not far off." But, however, whenever I see the word heinous, I have to crack this gag. Because I'm not sure. Is it pronounced heinous that rhymes with anus? Or is it heinous that rhymes with penis? Now, that's the question we have to ask. Anus or penis? Please send your one-word answer to Humza Yousaf at ScotGov. And if all of you just send in that one-word answer, I'm sure he will come back and answer, the question. Anyway, I shall move on from that one. When First Minister states in a television interview that a chief political prize would be making Scotland Tory-free, it may seem like a throwaway line, all part of the cut and thrust of politics. But it is in fact a very low moment in our political discourse. Because imagine saying, let's make it Jew-free. It's what Humza wants. But, making it Tory-free is no different than Jew-free. Being a Tory is a choice. Being a Jew is a choice. You're not born in a religion. You are mind melded into it. You are brainwashed into it. In the same way, generally, you are with politics. No one is born Muslim. No one is born Christian. You're born a human being. And through indoctrination and, choice eventually, you choose a religion. You choose a political party. But so if it's wrong to say, let's make it Tory free. I mean, so if it's wrong to say, let's make Britain Muslim free. Well, that's no different from saying let's make it Tory free. But of course, Humza doesn't want a Muslim free Britain, but he does want a Jewish free Britain. We know that. He's very much a supporter of Hamas. After all, he gives them so much money, and he goes and meets them in Qatar. Weird, isn't it? Anyway, such an approach is intended to normalise the isolation and separation of a democratic strand of people whose thinking is placed so beyond the pale that they should have no democratic representation irrespective of their number. That's what he wants. He wants the eradication of everyone who's not like him. Do you understand? That's why for him, eradication of political opponents is no different from eradication of Jews. They want a one world order, monolithic, all the same. And if you're different in any way, they just throw you off the top of a building. Anyway, the polling is looking bleak for the SNP, thank heavens, with some surveys putting them behind Scottish Labour in Scotland and could see them drop to less than 20 MPs from a starting position of 43. And indeed, tactical voting get them down to single figures. Mr Yousaf is targeting the 4 seats in Dumfries. That doesn't make any sense. He's targeting the 4-7 seats in Dumfries. Don't know. I don't know what that means. The way that's written is just obviously badly written. But anyway, he wants Dumfries, Moray, Aberdeenshire and Borders. But Mr Monteith pointed out that the Unionist parties should have nothing to worry about, as the First Minister's time in office so far has been full of mistakes, showing that the Nationalists are a spent force. He added, in truth, Scottish Conservatives should not be worried, for Yousaf does them a great favour. Yeah, simply by staying in power. He said, for them, it is fast becoming a recruiting sergeant for voters who thought the SNP could not be any worse after Nicola Sturgeon threw in the towel, but now they realise they were wrong. His repeated overreach, gaffes, slapstick failures and faux sentimentality is turning into a political parody of Norman Wisdom, only without the humour. Did you watch the Calcutta Cup? Did you see him going, yay, Scotland, yay? It was the falsest thing. It's a man who's never been to a rugby match before. A man who supports a completely different country but has to pretend to like Scotland, going, hey, yay, I'm so happy for the what's the name of the game? Rugby thing. Honestly, it was embarrassing. It was cringe. It was awful. And it just makes him look like, I'm sorry for this, but a complete and total utter wanker. Anyway, Wisdom was a famous slapstick comedian from the 1950s, and I know that 99.9% of my viewers know all this because you're like me, old. And who portrayed the character in the manual occupation where he was incompetent, a Mr. Bean-like type figure, and he was described by Charlie Chaplin as his favourite clown, as he performed so well at creating a sense of helplessness. Yes, probably. But the trouble with the difference is that Wisdom was doing it to make money. It was an act. It was a performance. With Humza Yousaf, it's all real. It's all perfectly natural to him. He really is, useless. Can't think of a better word, really. Anyway, on the picture there, look at that. On the right, Wisdom, and on the left, no wisdom whatsoever. Coming up. Hopefully by the time you get to see this video, whenever it shall be, YouTube will have fixed itself and I'll be able to knock some more out properly. But yeah, it's just one of those things with the technical side of things when they go wrong, and it's really bloody annoying. Anyway, poor old Norman. I never really rated him, I've got to be honest, but I knew it wasn't performance. I've seen him doing things, and he was actually obviously very bright, knew what he was doing. Way more talented, I think, than Humza Yousaf, that's for sure. But Humza Yousaf, it's not the act. He really is that dumb. He really has no idea what he's doing. He's a man who's found himself thrust into power, and he has no idea at all. Shakespeare, wasn't it? Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them. Well, yeah, Humza Yousaf has had that greatness thrust upon him, and he doesn't know what to do. Anyway, I'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video, and I will speak to you later. Bye.